Speaking about today's question, component versus feature team. Now, to start with, let's understand what is a component team and what is a feature team. Let's understand with an example of. Let's understand first with a non-IT kind of an example. First is think about a think about a cake having multiple different layers. Now, if I'm working as part of a component team, I would segregate all the layers, and I would have multiple different maybe teams or specific dedicated groups who are going to work on each individual layer. And later, at some point in time, maybe a week after or a month after, they're going to come back and integrate that cake with icing and everything, whatever needs to be done. There might be some last minute changes, there might not be some last minute changes, depending on how many integration issues I face. In case of features team, what happens is rather than dividing the cake by the layers, what I will do is I'll slice that as a horizontal piece, and whoever is going to work on that particular piece from top to bottom, that particular person is going to work on all the three layers, let's say. So that's the major difference between component and a feature team. To give you another example, think about a cog in a machine. Let's say in case of a component team, there are multiple teams which are working on building specific configurational cogs, which needs to be very precise, which has to have specific dimensions of grooves, and later when it comes to building that machine, they all share their individual pieces, which would then when they all move together, the machine would start to move on, or machine would start to work. That's what a component team would be. In case of features team, it's like the complete team is responsible for that machine, and that one piece of cog, that whole machine is then going to be divided into horizontal slices. So that's how the features team would work. In case of coming to an agile world, like I've already spoken about the definition. Now speaking about which one applies in which case. Now, just by the context, it might you might understand, like, component team is best suited for teams which have technological excellence for one complete group. Let's say in a traditional world, waterfall teams, a complete component that is being built is being worked up by one person, and then he is all knowledgeable about front end, let's say. So there's another person who's all knowledgeable about back end, and there is a third person who's knowledgeable on database. So they would all develop their individual piece, and then they would maybe sit together at the end of a week or 2 weeks, and then they would piece them all together and integrate them in one go. There might also be a fourth person for integration who helps these three people to integrate. So that's how they can be working. So let's say there's a login screen, and front end is very beautifully made by this person. Back end is created spectacularly because it has all the exceptions and all the error handling in the place. Database piece is also very well optimized, and it's working very as expected and very good. So when they sit for integration, things just fall into right place, and it works flawless. It's easier said than done, but it doesn't happen that way. In case of a feature team, multiple people, whoever are in the team, they would know to do all the three technologies. They would know all the three technologies, and they should be able to code front end, back end, and database. It might happen more so that a person might have a stronger capability in only let's say front end, a little in back end, and maybe an average skill set in database. That's also okay, but a person or a group of, let's say, two people is dedicated for that particular component when the user stories are sliced horizontally. Now, speaking about which one applies where, like I said, component teams work well when it's a traditional way of working, let's say waterfall, or it can also sometimes work in case of skill agile framework, or wherein a Nexus framework of Scrum.org is being implemented, and there are multiple teams who are working in tandem, and each individual group is working on specific layers of cake or specific layers of the system. Let's say front end is a different team, back end is a different team, database is a different team, and then there is another team for integration, all that stuff. Now it works well in those scenarios. In case of features team, I believe a scrum team would work better, because in that case the value realization happens or should be happening sooner, and if there are any issues in integration, no matter how beautiful the UI is, or how well error handling is put into place, or how optimized databases, if integration is not happening, sprint review is not successful. Things might not be demonstrated very well. It might fail on the D-Day. 11th hour might not go as smooth as we might expect. So in that case, a features team, what they would do is, because a person is solely responsible on complete user story, the complete slice from start to end, he would know that in the next 2 weeks I have to build up this login screen. If there is a technology that he's not very well adept with, he might take help, he might get upskilled, he might raise that challenge, he might raise that risk, and help and assistance might be given to him. And during the course of the whole sprint, we would still be able to see that functionality working up to some extent, if not 100%, at least to some extent. But the value realization, I think, happens more in case of features team. It can also happen in case of component team, but what I believe is, integration should be given a lot more importance, and yeah, it should go very well in that sense.
Hello everyone. So today's question is what is component team and a feature team? What are the difference between component team and feature team? What are the of advantages and disadvantages of feature team and component team, and which team is more effective for Scrum in Scrum basically. So first of all, what is feature team? Feature team is basically a development team of Scrum, which is a cross-functional or a cross-component that implements end-to-end user story for clients. So basically, you can say like we can take an example of search functionality. So for search functionality, we will be requiring front end, back end, and database. So the a single team which is performing end to end task is known as feature team. Basically, it's a cross functional team. Like all the all the people, all the team members have the technical skills to develop the end to end functionality of search. So this is called basically a feature team. It's kind of, you can say, it's a vertical slicing. So the team picks directly a product backlog item from the product backlog to implement it. So, and what is a component team? So basically, component team is a you can say an individual team which focus on single technical skills. Basically, like we can take an example of search functionality here. So a component team is basically a single team. A single team can focus on front end or back end or a database. Like it's kind of horizontal slicing. So a particular team will be doing front end activity, and after completing their activity, the this output will be taken for the another team to perform their backend activity. So like here, some hands off kind of things are involved. So basically, this component team is the one who focuses on single component of feature, kind of like singly focused on front end or database. So the component team is basically dependent on other teams as well. Yeah. So, what are the differences between feature team and component team? So, basically, feature team is less dependent on other teams, and the component teams are highly dependent on each other. Like, as a single team is performing the front end activity, and another team is performing the back end activity. So, there is a lot of dependency between other on another teams in component team. And like a feature team is a modern way of organizing the teams, and component team is basically a traditional way of organizing the team, like you can say waterfall model. So of the responsibility in feature team is of whole team, but in component team the responsibility depends on individual. Okay, and responsible for the whole the feature team is responsible for the whole customer centric feature, and component team is responsible for only the part of a customer centric feature. It's like in feature team the team is responsible for everything, like end to end product, but in component team the team is only responsible for particular part of work that they have done. And in feature team the, they have many learning opportunities, but in component team they don't have much learning opportunity, as they only focus on their particular skills and expertise. And feature team focus on system productivity, whereas component team focus on increased individual productivity. Yeah. And in feature team it carries iterative development skills, kind of you can say it's kind of scaling up agile, but component team basically carries waterfall model. Yeah. And now the next question is like, what are the advantages and disadvantages of feature team and component team? So the benefits or advantages of feature teams are like, they are scaling up agile development, and there in feature team the communication and the collaboration is much better than the component team. It's like you can say they are less dependent on another team. Dependency is very less in feature team, and there is a good transparency in feature team, as like the whole single team is having the cross functional people. So the transparency is very clearly there is a very good transparency within a team, so that they can like in daily stand up call they can see each and everyone's activity, and they can know about it. And like end to end delivery of customer is also one of the very good benefit of feature team. And the feature team is also like self sufficient. uh, Apart from this benefits, there are some other disadvantage of feature team as well, like maintenance services there for the feature team, and difficulty in acquiring skills as it's a cross functional team. Also, like there is a chances of code duplication, as each team member will create their own logics or UI design. So this is also one possibility. And also like some common tools and and practices are followed. The benefits of component teams are basically, it's like for code reusability, as like they have their definite set of code which can be reused multiple ways in multiple ways, and this can be like you can say it's for cost saving. And also like it ensures architecture consistency. The disadvantages of component team is like there is a lack of transparency, as different teams work on different layers or different component, you can say front end back end etc. So there is a lack of transparency. And also like a lot of collaboration is required in component team, because as there is no transparency, so this is also a disadvantage you can say. And like the teams are highly dependent on each other, so it takes more time to develop their work, to develop the software, and also like to deliver a working model. Okay, so the other question is like which team would you refer which team would you prefer in scrum or will be effective in scrum? So Like both the teams have their own pros and cons, but most of the organization nowadays are making transition to feature team from their component team. So as for me, like I will prefer the feature team in Scrum. Like the feature team is more effective in Scrum as it is cross functional and have each and every skills that they want to develop the project or product. So like the team is having full stick development team, so that they can deliver the end to end product to the client, and they don't have dependency on other teams. So like as we all know, the Scrum is all about delivering this working software, and responding to a change. So feature team would be most better in such situation. So I would prefer the feature team for Scrum. And also like feature team allow us to move fast, add new functionality, and respond to user feedback, and adapt the feedback received from the customer or in upcoming sprints, so that the customer will be using it and providing us the feedback. But in component team help us to reduce the cost and uh, prof- uh, pro- increase profitability by maximizing reuse and ensuring architecture integrity. So as for me, I would prefer a feature team which is more better, and which is anyways always good for the agile, as it is a cross functional and self sufficient to deliver a working software in a single sprint. Thank you.
Hello everyone, today's topic is what is feature team and component team, what is the difference between these two teams, what is the advantage and disadvantage of using these two team, and when to use which team. Let's see what is the definition of a feature team and a component team. Feature team is a cross component, cross functional and long lived team which picks end to end customer feature one by one from the product backlog and completes them. It plays a very crucial role in scaling up the agile development process. And without this team structure, an organization might face plenty of problem which lead to sequential development cycle like waterfall. And why is that so? That part we can come later. Now let's see what is component team. Component team is a cross-functional single component team which works on a particular part of a end customer feature. It present traditional method, and companies are used to follow this, or used to have this kind of team structure when they start during their startup period for providing the successful. Now the feature here is like need to develop a search criteria for a particular website, and component here is like front end code, back end code, and the database. Now for a feature team, this particular thing will be looks like a user story which should be placed in a product backlog for them, and then team can divide this particular user story into different tasks among the team member. Here as I said that it is a cross functional team and cross component team. So in that particular team itself, like in a single team itself, we can have a front end developer, the back end developer, as well as the database developer. So they can work together and can finally give the result, or can can give the potential shippable product to the customer. Now let's look at the component team. Here, as I said, it is a single component team. So for this particular feature, as I said, there is two or three components. So we need three teams, three component teams here. One is the backend team, another is the. Now most of the organization making transition from component to the feature team because they think that the feature team work brings measurable benefit to their clients and also creates a promising environment for the IT expert as well. Also, some benefits like it reduce the waste of hands off, like which component team in component team we could see. Also, it simplified the planning process and it increased the learning as we have a cross functional team and we are focusing on multiple specialization and it's highly effective communication. But there are some challenges too. Time it will be difficult to like acquire the particular skill which must be your need for that particular project. Has a long learning curve and also high maintenance service. But I would like to say there is no final solution for this or final thing for a particular organization. You could say that you should go for a feature team or you should go for a component team. It should be based on the organization and sometimes.
Hi all, this is Satish. So coming to today's topic like component team and feature team. So when to use a component or a feature team. So let's first understand like what's a component and a feature team. So yeah, component team usually like works at developing a particular small portion of the product, particularly component. So each team will develop and at the end, right, they will integrate all the integrate all the components and test it so that that particular feature can be used by the end user or the business. So here, I mean, the integration mostly takes place at the end, or sometimes this component developed can be used by multiple teams also here. Uh, but in case of a feature team, right, they will develop from end to end. Here the value delivery will be fast and they will give actually the integration takes place from the starting so that they will get the feedbacks and the risks, I mean at the earliest. I think this is a different between a component and a future thing. So let's consider a simple a general example based on my understanding. Let's consider there are actually various photographs of different sizes taken. uh, the problem statement here is, I mean, we want to do that framing of all these photographs of, for example, by using a stick or wooden stick, so the photographs of different sizes and also paste some color purpose so that it looks attractive. So let's take a case of a component team. So let's consider in this case like the component teams. There can be three teams. Let me like for the team one, right? What they will do is they will just identify that wooden piece or that the frame. They will fix only the frames. Since the sizes are different here, right? So they may approximately develop that. Sometimes it will take some time. And the second team, right, they will take that particular photograph and fix in that frames whatever that team has done it. And the third team, once these two are ready, they will just they will just take it and put a color coding, or the other way, like you can take it like with the first team will do only the frame, the second team will take that photograph, and third team will integrate and put the color coding. This is how that component team will work. Here you see the value delivery will take time, so everybody will be expert in that particular area whichever they are working. So feedbacks make it, and since the value delivery will take time, so that the so that's the thing. Whereas let's come to the same example with the future team, right? They will know end to end. So each team, right, they will develop they will identify the frame for the particular photograph needed in this example and fix the collection. So that in the same, for example, let's take about the same time, if you see like the value delivery or the number of frames completed by future team in this case would be higher. So I think this is how the difference. Coming to like where we can use a future and component team. So in my one of my experience with one of my teams, I had one some type of component we developed that took almost actually 1.5 days, and that has been used by various application teams. So during that case, I believe still that component team would be preferred, but only the disadvantage is like for developing a product, and if these component teams are developed, usually everybody will be expert in one area only, like the front end, the middleware, and the database, right? So if there's some issue or some requirement comes, right, they have to work with the other two teams to identify, to know where the what is the impact. They have to identify the interface, how it works. This and all will take some time to. Whereas in case of future team, they are like a full stack development. So they will do from the starting to end. The integration will take, and the value delivery will be worst. If you ask like, yeah, for a complex product development, yeah, future using a future team would be better. That's uh, from my point of view. I think this is what I feel. Thank you.